dear friends, and welcome to another Kardec Radio God at Home live at 6 p.m. How wonderful, dear friends, it is for us to have this blessed opportunity in this intercontinental classroom to nourish our souls. As you may know, dear friends, we have been studying the Spirit's book and focusing primarily on the law of work. Did you know, dear friends, that there is such a thing, a universal law of work? Beautiful, right? Hello, dear friends. There's more sunshine here coming our way. Hello, sunshine. Hello, Julisia. Hello, Alicia. Beautiful children of God, welcome. It's so nice to have you, to be connected, nourishing our souls. Hello, Nora Brazil. It's wonderful to have you here, beautiful child of God. So, dear friends, welcome. And as you know, we are focusing our attention now on the law of work. Last week, together, we learned that work in the eyes of the spirits is any activity where we find ourselves useful, not only for our own purposes, but also for others in the sense of serving others. So we can be useful to ourselves, to God first, to ourselves and to others, starting with our thoughts, then our feelings, then our attitudes, then our words, and finally our actions. So first quiz of the day, dear friends. How useful do you believe you are? Scale 0 to 10. Of course, nobody is at 0 as a beautiful child of God, of course. But where do you think you are, dear friends? How useful are your thoughts? Are they generally positive, loving, kind, caring? How useful are your attitudes? Are they welcoming, inviting towards others? How useful are our, or yours, I would say ours, because we're all together in this classroom, our feelings? Do we externalize feelings of kindness, understanding, fraternity towards ourselves and towards others? How about our actions on a daily basis? Are we able to say good morning, as Alicia is saying, to one another, even in our thoughts? Are we able to say, good morning, God? Thank you for one more beautiful day. These are all ways, dear friends, in which we can be useful. So first quiz of the day, how useful have we made ourselves? Scale 0 to 10. Let us spend this time that we have together meditating upon our own feelings, thoughts, attitudes, words, and actions. And one way to make ourselves useful, according to the law of work, is to also practice the law of worship. Yes, the law of prayer. Connecting the Wi-Fi of our hearts, that is free and always available, to the Almighty universal source of the universe. So is the Wi-Fi of your hearts, dear friends, connected? Are you ready? We are going to start as usual with an initial prayer. For this initial prayer to reach out to others, to ourselves and to others, all the more for us to become an instrument of the Creator as co-creators ourselves, let us unite ourselves in thoughts. I know we are in different places of the world in this intercontinental classroom, Before the thought, there is no distance. So let us unite ourselves in heart, intention, feeling, and thoughts with the Wi-Fi of the heart. Ready? So here we go. Beloved Creator, we are so fortunate and grateful for the gift of consciously connecting to you. We pray tonight in gratitude for all the hearts that surround us in both realms of life, for all those who have sustained our lives as incarnate beings, and all those who have acted as your messengers on our behalf. We start by thanking our Master Jesus for having incarnated on this earth to teach us how to be useful, to serve and to love always, dear Master, all of our gratitude. We continue by thanking Kardec, this wonderful researcher, educator, brilliant mind and heart, who codified these immortal teachings which constantly nourish our souls. We thank you for everyone on this earth who allows their light to shine, who are consciously aware that they are co-creators with you. And we pray so that we have the courage, the joy of living, and the awareness to make every moment of our lives useful in your hands. Beloved Creator of the universe, take the crumbs of our vibrations of love and reach out for the hearts that are hungry for understanding, hungry for consolation, hungry for joy, hungry for forgiveness, hungry for your loving presence. Allow a shower of hope to reach their hearts and for them to feel and recognize that they are beloved children of yours. And finally, we thank you for all the resources we have, material and spiritual alike, that contribute to our spiritual growth. With your permission, beloved Creator, we ask you to begin our studies tonight, and so be it. So be it, dear friends. We are now going to begin our study of the Spirit's Book by Allan Kardec. Tonight, we are going to look at questions 678, 679, 680, and 681. So if you have the book, please feel free to follow us. We are studying the Constitution of the Soul, right, dear friends? So to get less citations in the school of life, this is the Constitution that can help us understand the laws. As Kardec says, explains to us, the more we understand the laws that govern the universe, the less suffering we experience. So what a blessing. Let us enjoy these blessings, dear friends. So question 678. Kardec kindly asks, on more highly evolved worlds, are humans subjected to the same necessity of labor? What a great question, right, dear friends? So do spirits who live in other planets, do they have to work in the same way that we do? Excellent question. Let's see what the loving spirits answer. Their answer is as follows. The nature of the labor is relative to that of the needs. The less material the needs, the less material the labor. Yet, You must not assume that humans on such worlds remain inactive and useless. Idleness would be a torture instead of a benefit. Wow, dear friends. So the teachers of the beyond, under the loving guidance of the Master, Christ Jesus of the earth, tell us that idleness would actually be a torture for spirits that are more evolved as we are. Did you ever stop to think of that? That being quote unquote lazy or avert to usefulness in more evolved planets is considered to be a torture? What a concept for us to think about, right, dear friends? Food for the soul. And we don't even need to go as far as more evolved planets to understand what the educators under Christ wish to tell us. If we take the spirit doctor Andre Lewis as an example, in the book Our Home, Nosso Lar, he works in the cameras of rectification, where suffering spirits go in order to receive their first aid. It's kind of an emergency room of the spiritual realm. Those where he worked is not even a full hospital yet. It's the first services that the very suffering spirits receive. And as someone who had been a doctor on the earth, Andre Lewis in the book Nosso Lar reports that he truly appreciated working as an assistant to the nurse Narcisa. He did all that he could to assist her, and he worked more than 24 hours non-stop because there were not enough workers available during that time in the spiritual realm in the colony of Nosso Lar. And after working non-stop, the mentors asked Andre Lewis to take some rest. Because as we learn in this book, we need to work, but God respects the limits of our abilities, right, dear friends? Because God is love. So understanding the limits of Andre Lewis' abilities, the spirit mentors actually asked him to rest. And his response was, I don't want to rest. Because right now, I'm feeling so useful that I'm experiencing joy, which I have never experienced before. So actually resting is out of question for me. Of course, because Andre Lewis is disciplined, he obeyed the suggestion of those who knew more than he did at that time, and he rested. But even in his sleep, he made himself useful. He encountered with his mother, who was in another more advanced spiritual colony. So what do we learn, dear friends? Not only from the educators working with the Christ, but also with our dear spirit mentor, Andre Lewis. We learn that as we progress spiritually, work of any nature actually brings us joy of living, because we rejoice then in co-creating with the Lord and in bringing usefulness to our lives in the service of others. So being useful to others, dear friends, is actually a way to find joy for ourselves. No wonder our Master Jesus taught us, without charity, there is no salvation. He didn't say without spiritism, there's no salvation, or without any religion per se, there's no salvation. He said without charity, there's no salvation. So in that simple but profound statement, our Master Jesus explained to us, registered in our souls at that time and forever, that if we would like to find joy, dear friends, we can find that joy in service of any nature at all whatsoever, as André Lewis had learned. He actually explained to the mentor that he never had experienced such joy in his life. So if we, dear friends, would like to experience more joy, and I do, how about you? I bet you do too, right? The secret, coming directly from our Master Jesus, is to be of service. So shall we commit this week, dear friends, to share one act of service every day? So what are acts of service that we can share in our effort to be useful? We could say a prayer, right? That's usefulness, that's service. We could share a smile. We could share a hug. We could post positive messages on Facebook. We could share words of encouragement with one another. We could share words of encouragement with ourselves. We could nourish our souls by reading a book that will guide us, nourish us for immortality. We could open the door for someone without them expecting. What do you think, dear friends? We could say hello to a stranger, right? What do you guys think? Shall we commit to sharing one act of service per day until we come back next week to make ourselves more useful and allow our awareness as of co-creators of God to deepen even more? What do you think, dear friends? We shall experience more joy of living in that way, right, Juliana Bonacci? Welcome, dear friend. It's so nice to see you. Right, Angelina de Paula, fraternity without borders. That's a beautiful way to make ourselves useful, right, Angelina? To visit our brothers and sisters in Africa. So beautiful. And Rudy, you're here. Welcome, dear friend, beautiful child of God. You are right, Rudy. Caring for animals is another way to be useful and loving and co-creating with God. Caring for plants is another way to do it as well. And also practicing mental charity, right? Shall we commit to practice mental charity, dear friends? How do we practice mental charity, mental service, mental usefulness? We practice mental service, mental usefulness, mental charity by changing the nature of our thoughts. So every time we are causing mental pollution in the environment around us by having persistent negative thoughts, we can practice mental charity towards ourselves and others by switching the dial. Yes, switching the dial from the negative to the positive. So if we think, oh, I'm not good enough, this is not working, how about switching to, I am a child of God, I am learning, I know how to be useful in the hands of God. Shall we practice this affirmation, dear friends? Here we go. I am a child of God. I am learning. I know how to be useful in the hands of God. Once again, I am a child of God. I am learning. I know how to be useful in the hands of God. One more time. I am a child of God. I am learning. I know how to be useful in the hands of God. Yay! We just took care of mental pollution and practiced mental charity. Shall we practice mental charity this week as well, dear friends? Yes, Alicia, without charity, there is no salvation. This is the universal code for our spiritual growth. So, like Andre Lewis learned in the books that he has written and reported to us, let us practice mental charity, right, dear friends? And he learned, Andre Lewis, that he could be useful even during his sleep. Did you know, dear friends, that this is the case, that we can be useful even as we sleep? Because as the physical body rests, dear friends, the spirit is still connected to the body, but the spirit is freer. As the spirit is freer, the spirit can meet others who are more advanced, who care for them, who love them, who can guide them, who can teach them, who can treat them, and who can take them in beautiful excursions, as Andre Lewis' mother did in the book Nosso Lar. So if you're curious to learn how to be useful during our sleep, to practice intelligent sleep, to be useful in that way, read the book Nosso Lar. You will see many instances where Andre Lewis knows even or learns even how to sleep in a useful way. So wow, so many tools for us to put into practice. Practicing one act of service per day this week. Doing our best to practice mental charity, and also becoming more aware that we are able to sleep intelligently. Shall we, friends? Wow, this is so empowering. True gem of the soul. Let us now, dear friends, move to question 679 of the Spirit's book. Are those who possess plenty of assets to ensure their welfare exempted from the law of labor? Wow, good question. Are those who are materially wealthy exempt from working, dear friends? Excellent question. Kardec is a brilliant educator, right? Shall we see the answer from the educators on the Christ's team? Here we go. Their answer is as follows. From paid labor, perhaps, but not from the obligation to render themselves useful according to their means and to perfect their own or others' intelligence. This too is labor. If those to whom God has granted enough assets to ensure their welfare are not obligated to eat their bread from the sweat of their brow, their obligation to be useful to their fellow creatures is all the greater. It is a portion they have received in advance, allowing them more free time to do good. Wow, dear friends, the spirit mentors working with the master amaze us, don't they? Did you know that those who are provided with more material wealth are all the more obligated before the laws of God to serve, to make themselves useful? Yes, because they don't have to worry as much about providing for themselves, so they are freer to serve. What a test, right, dear friends? So wealth in reality, as we are learning together in tonight's intercontinental classroom, is a test. Being wealthy is actually a test, dear friends. So let us dedicate thoughts of encouragement, of faith to those who are undergoing this test, because it is not easy, as we learn in the parables of talents told by the Christ. Those who are given talents are expected to multiply them. Once they return to the spiritual realm, they will be responsible for their own actions before their own consciousness. But let us take the concept of wealth a step further. Did you know, dear friends, that we are all wealthy? You may be wondering, Carol, what are you talking about, right? I'm talking about the knowledge that we were given in this reincarnation, the universal laws that we have access to through Spiritism. Did you know that that's wonderful wealth, dear friends? Because understanding these universal laws can set us free of our own limitations and can propel us forward, immortally speaking. So, did you know, dear friends, that we are all very wealthy before the eyes of God, and that it is our duty before humanity to share these beautiful teachings? The dissemination of Spiritism, as the Spirit Mentor Emmanuel tells us, is one of the most important acts of charity that we can practice, because this, dear friends, is a treasure of priceless value that we can take with us for lifetimes to come. So yes, we are all billionaires of the soul, right, dear friends? As billionaires of the soul, shall we practice also this week to share these teachings with one another? With social media, dear friends, this has become all the more easy for us to share. So shall we, dear friends, share once a day on our social media channels a message of hope, a message of charity, a message that can share, that can feed the souls of those in our network for immortality. We shall not be misers of immortal knowledge, right, dear friends? In the book Liberation by the Spirit Mentor Andre Lewis, we learn that in the lower zones there is some kind of courtroom where those who possess knowledge and don't share this knowledge, are brought to judgment before those who observe them. This is in the book Liberation by Andre Lewis. There is the account of an intellect who knew a lot but forgot to share. So he was not wealthy materially speaking, but he was wealthy in terms of the intellect, and he forgot to share his wealth. So he was brought to judgment before those who were observing him. In effect, it was his own consciousness that was judging him as guilty. So let us practice charity in this way as well, so that we free ourselves from the heavy weight of carrying wealth that is not only for ourselves, right, dear friends? As Francis of Assisi wisely tells us, it is in giving that we receive. So we receive so much, so we do the movement of giving as well. This is our biggest, most beautiful wealth. So shall we share it? Now we know that we are responsible for sharing the wealth that is given to us. As billionaires of the soul, let us share the treasure that nourishes us. Deal, dear friends? Yes, we are so fortunate, right? So let us read one more question here. Question 680. Aren't there those who are incapable of working at anything at all and whose existence serves no purpose? Wow, this is a heavy-duty question. So Kardec is very wise as an educator. He asks all the questions that might perhaps at some point come to our minds. So here's the answer from the illuminated spirits, dear friends. They tell us, God is just and only condemns those who intentionally live a life that serves no purpose because they live by depending on other people's work. God desires for all to make themselves useful according to their own faculties. So we learn now that God, being just, loving, and compassionate, does not condemn those who are unable to work in their present incarnation. God only condemns or calls into account those who are able to work and choose not to. And when the illuminated spirits use the word condemn, they are not saying that God directly will punish us. They are saying that according to the law of action and reaction, this is a universal law, we will receive that which we sow. So if we would like to have an even happier, most fulfilling future, dear friends, the future is literally in our hands. By being useful now, we are planting seeds of encouragement, of love, of kindness, of hope, of joy for the future. So we are constructing our own destiny, dear friends. This is why our Master Jesus so wisely told us, do unto others what you would like to receive, because that is a very truthful universal law. We are the ones who may cause temporary pain or inflict temporary pain onto ourselves, and it is up to us to start the healing process. So even more loving future is ahead of us if and when we make useful use of our time, of our effort, of our resources. Isn't it beautiful, dear friends, that we are destined to experience joy and love? And the more we give joy, and the more we give love, and the more we give fraternity, the faster we get there. Right, dear friends? So yes, let us be useful in a way that we materialize for ourselves the kind of present and the kind of future that we would like to have. The future is in our hands as we work in the present with the Creator above. So let us say an affirmation for ourselves, dear friends. The present is a true gift. The present is a true gift. The present is a true gift. And in the future, many more gifts will blossom. And in the future, many more gifts will blossom. And in the future, many more gifts will blossom. How beautiful, dear friends, to have this knowledge that can help us construct a more loving life, for ourselves and for others. Hello, Francisco Stama, our brother from the heart. It's so nice to see you. Thank you, dear friend. Welcome, welcome, dear soul. So now, dear friends, we are going to move to our last question of the evening. But before we move to our last question of the evening, we would like to share that even with those friends of ours who are temporarily limited in their faculties because their bodies don't respond accordingly, they can still be useful, right, dear friends? How many times have you seen someone who is temporarily facing a mental limitation or a physical limitation, and that person had a beautiful smile in their hearts and in their beautiful face, and that person was able to tell you a word that made you smile, right? So even those who are temporarily limited because of the physical body that is educating their souls, or their brain that is serving as an instrument to educate their souls, even then they are quite often able to share joy with us. Right, dear friends? So let us observe those whose physical bodies or brains are temporarily limited as an educative measure from the Lord above. And let us notice how much joy, they are able to spread to the world. Right, dear friends? We visit a facility for gentlemen and ladies who are wheelchair bound on a regular basis, and we often always leave there lighter, more joyful than we were before, because those friends have so much joy of living that we leave that beautiful home almost on cloud 99 because they are true joy of living. So even those whose physical bodies or brains do not respond accordingly to what we expect may, and often do, bring us much joy. Right, dear friends? We are all beautiful children of God. So let us move to our last question of the evening. Question 681. Does the law of nature impose upon children the obligation to work for their parents? Excellent question. What do you think, dear friends? Do children have the obligation to work for their parents? Our Master Jesus already gave us the answer, right? Honor thy father and thy mother. But let us see what the educators of the beyond working under the Master have to tell us. They say the following. Certainly, just as parents must work for their children. This is why God has made filial love and parental love natural sentiments, so that by such mutual love, the members of the same family may be led to help each other. This is frequently not recognized in your present society. Oh, so we received the key for our progress here, dear friends. The educators working under the Christ now told us that we have come under the same family dynamics in order to help one another. That's the key that we need to know. Why have we been brought together, immortally speaking? In order to serve one another. Yes, that's right. So a mother is there to serve, to lovingly serve their children. A father is there to lovingly guide as a co-creator and also serve their children. And if the children learn how to serve through the modeling of their parents, they will naturally reciprocate later. It's the cycle of loving service, compassion, and kindness. This is why families are brought together. In the book Nosso Lar by the spirit mentor André Luiz, we learn that his mother is planning to return to earth to take back her husband who had betrayed her, and to also have as her very own children in the new life the people who developed a romantic relationship outside of the marriage with her husband. So she understood that the purpose of having a family is not to label that spirit as mine, not to have that possessive, suffocating feeling, but rather to serve. So she returned to earth in order to take those who inflicted pain upon her previously as her own children, so as to love them, protect them, and mostly educate them to love God, so that they learn how to serve God first and foremost. In chapter 14, honor thy father and thy mother, item 9 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, the spirit of Saint Augustine tells us that often we come in families where readjustment is needed, immortally speaking, and that the number one duty of parents is to conduct their children to love God. So, for example, if a child tells us, "Daddy, Mommy, can you get me this? I want this. Can I have that?" What can our answer be? Our answer can be, well, let us pray to God. If God would like for you to have that, then so it shall be. Let us practice, dear friends, with every incarnated spirit that is around us, to remind them of God, because it's not by chance that we are in the same network. And the spirit mentors here in question 681 of the Spirit's book tell us that in our society, even at that time, we were failing the cycle of service and compassion. Why is that? Because in current society, often we are leaving our children very early on, at least here in the United States, in the hands of others, right? Of course, at times we don't have a choice because we have to work, we have to provide, so of course we are doing our best. But very early on, it is customary for us to leave our children in the care of third parties. And then at times we are barely able to see our children, to educate them, to love them, to nourish their souls. So of course, as they grow older, they may not be able to reciprocate this love because they haven't learned from us how to do so. So let us meditate upon the importance, dear friends, of us giving to the children in our network the kind of love that we would like to receive according to the best of our abilities. Right, dear friends? So this is it for tonight. We are grateful to the spirit mentors of humanity under Christ for nourishing our souls, dear friends. Let us now say our final prayer. And in order for this current of love to expand all the more, let us devote our prayers to the same goal. So instead of saying individual prayers or petitions, let us follow one another in the same direction so that we can progress together towards the same aim and potentialize that current of love. Francisco Stama is saying, our loving Father gives his permission to spirits that have had troubles in the past to live with us in our family. That's right. Because this is how we learn how to practice fraternity, right, dear friends? In the book 50 Years Later by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier, we learn towards the very end that as the spirit Nestorio is preparing to return with the same spirits who have accompanied him in a series of reincarnation, he is asked to choose amongst those spirits those with whom he has had difficulties. Why? To see if we truly have learned to love unconditionally. So let us pray for that together, shall we, dear friends? Okay, here we go. Beloved Father, thank you for the immortal knowledge that you have granted us in order for us to nourish our souls. Thank you for entrusting such treasures to our souls. Give us the courage to be useful and to share this knowledge with everyone around us, more so through our actions than through our words. Help us to be useful within the walls of our very home. Let us recognize in the spirits that are with us those whom we must serve all the more. Let us learn to be of service to all of those around us, knowing that it is not by chance that we are together. May we have the eyes to see everyone as a gift from you, dear Lord. Help us to seek the good so as to be all the more useful in your hands. Teach us, dear Lord of life, to love free of conditions so that we may be closer to you. We accept now our condition as co-creators of your love. Please, dear Lord of life, make us an instrument of your love. And so be it. Thank you, dear friends. Let us allow our light to shine, right? This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Thank you, dear friends. Thank you, sunshine, for bringing light from your heart to ours. Thank you, dear friends, for being part of this current of love. You are love, you are light, and you are joy of living. Many, many blessings. Thank you, friends. Thank you, Nora Brazil. A big hug and a kiss from our hearts to yours. Thank you, dear friends.